released a new map with a whole new border for China, which included encompassing Taiwan and the entire South China Sea. They released it publicly. What's going on here, Mike? What is happening?
Well, it's a sad thing, Pastor Paul. It's a lot of us Americans, we have somewhat deceived ourselves with our own propaganda. And kind of like a football team, sometimes we can become experts on how much we have achieved and just totally forget the scope of the game, period. You know,
right.
That same situation has happened with us. We enjoyed a long period of freedom, basically. You know, no other country could touch us. And we were at the top of the table for a long time. Well, unfortunately, when people are at the top of the table, they start to attack, themselves inwardly.
Yes.
Or do things that will break down what held them up for so long and assume that the value system that we've had for so long because of our freedom. We have abandoned that. No hunger for righteousness is in this country to a degree. As a consequence, other countries have surpassed us in just about every single area. That should have been evident to people with, technology, period. Most of the technology that people use does not come from inside the USA.
Wow.
Things that are manufactured.
Whoa.
They don't come from within the USA.
So you're saying most of the technology that we're doing is from other nations? It's actually...
Yeah, the populace in the average home, right? Most of the electronics in the average home is from China, right? It's from China.
Yeah.
China can replicate and duplicate things. I'll say it again. They took one of our best aircraft, and they replicated that aircraft in less than 1 week. How can anybody do that? How can you fabricate an aircraft and it's airworthy with a microwave weapon on the front? This was before, we had certain armaments. How could we do that to the point where they could run away the aircraft they copied? And so this is how, astute these guys are.
They re-engineered an entire aircraft in a week.
Yeah, in a week. We're talking breakdown fabrication, put together, and flight within a week.
Are you serious?
This is China's capabilities, yes. These guys are building, aircraft carriers. They have two new submarines that are just massive and fast. In America, sometimes there's so many secrets in America, the average civilian does not know what we have, right? For example, the TRB-3. We're supposed to have a super stealth craft nobody knows about. Well, if we really had that type of machinery at our disposal, there would be no way we would bend to any country, right? Because with impunity, we could do whatever we wanted to. In the USA Plus, we would have much higher standards due to zero stress or no threats. But we know we do have threats, and people are nervous. And the equipment we bring to bear, China called our bluff. Russia called our bluff. And unfortunately, that bluff is about to get a lot bigger because you have a very stubborn element called government, the whole of government. They have lost their minds. They're absolutely stubborn. They're stuck in their ways. They're not doing what's best for the people anymore, right?
No.
You could take a survey of how many of your online church have spoken to congressional members in the last month.
Oh.
If they haven't spoken to anybody, who are these guys talking to, right?
Right.
Because when they say what the people want, what they're doing is that standard kingship over the people.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not really getting anything from the people. And unfortunately, we've been in that practice for so long that we've deceived ourselves. We really have. We've allowed government to have full control.
So when they say, well, I've been talking to my citizens, my constituents, here's what they're wanting. Truth is, None of us have talked to a congressman. There's 7,300 people here right now. I would venture to say that not even 20 people watching has spoke to a congressman in the last month, or at least the last week. So they're not talking to us. Let's face it.
No, they're not. They're making decisions for us, right? And they estimate, what we can and cannot deal with. They calculate that. That's mistake number 2. We have trusted calculations too much. The whole of America right now is scientific. And what I mean by that is that we run everything by numbers. Well, guess what happens when you do that? You leave out the human element, which, by the way, changes every second. Something changes.
Right,
Conditions change. Science is good. It's the pursuit of truth. But the pursuit of truth is not truth. Science delivers facts. Truth is not a fact. Fact is not a truth. Truth comes from the source of truth. And unfortunately, we've drifted away from that truth. Our children, they don't really have there are a lot of children who do, but as a whole, there's a generation out there that does not have a strong connection to Christ. The Christ figure has been distorted and assaulted and attacked, and all this new UAP stuff. I know people like this disclosure stuff, but what it's actually accomplishing is causing people to doubt Christ even further, because they don't have roots or foundations in their faith, nor do they don't have that strong personal experience with Christ, and they can still have it at any time. But with all these things, they toy around in government. They toy. For example, I don't get into politics, but President Biden, right?
Yep.
Period, in my opinion, is incompetent. He's just incompetent. He's what I mean by that, he may understand how government works.
Right. He's been there for 50 years. He helped make it. Yeah.
You get too old.
Yeah.
You're not going to be aware of the many factors of the people or the situation to make snap decisions, right? So by saying that, why is the Democratic Party and the Republican Party suffering to have him president in the first place when, in fact, he can be replaced? Why haven't they done this? And if people look up certain laws, they know exactly what I'm talking about. They haven't done this because they're complicit with it, right?
Yep.
Which means there's something else going on. There's been a handover. And I'll say it bluntly. Our republic has been handed over to a democracy.
Yeah,
it's been handed over. It's no longer
a republic. So in other words, our Constitution is no longer valid.
Yeah, it's nullified.
It's been nullified.
Constitution, I'm not acquainted with.
Right.
I'm just not acquainted with this new Constitution that actually throws out all foundational truths of Christ.
Oh, it does.
And it began back in 2010 when they began removing all aspects and everything about Christ had to be removed. They had fights over the 10 Commandments, so on and so forth. In the White House, they had a figure, the Maitreya. They were praying to the Maitreya every single day. Right? Why would they do that?
Oh.
And then they have Muslim prayer in there also.
Yeah.
They had advisors or Christian advisors, but they were kind of shoved to the corner.
Right.
And by making peace, they tried to make peace with these religious factions or peoples of the world. And by doing that, they compromised foundational beliefs of this nation. Well, I hate to tell them that the only reason this nation stood was because of Christ. If you take Christ out of it, this nation cannot stand. And that's what people are going to painfully learn. Right?
Amen.
You can't have a foundation built upon the living God through Christ and then remove Christ and expect to run it yourself. That is who Satan is, the one who does this all the time. He has something built up.
Yep.
He usurps whatever's built up. He removes Christ from it and instills in the minds of everybody they can do what they want to. For example, even in a lot of churches, not yours, of course, but in a lot of churches, Pascal, there's no emphasis on prayer. It's almost like prayer has become this thing that doesn't work.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
And there are a lot of people who don't have, they could have But people need to have, they need to have an experience with Christ.
Amen.
They need to actually have deliverance by Christ. But the problem with that is you have a lot of people, they're teaching philosophy in the church,
Yep.
teaching people, how to be happy, how to go buy stuff and be proud about what they bought. But they're not teaching relationship.
What you're talking about, Mike, is a personal relationship with Christ. And that requires communication. That requires prayer, where you literally pray. You pray to the Father. You pray to the Lord. You ask for help. You ask for guidance. You praise Him. You worship Him. You communicate with Him. And that you will enter into a whole different frame of mind. You'll spiritually go into a whole different manifestation, but it feeds you. And you're right. If we remove that from the church, we have nothing. We have a powerless church. Okay, because there's no prayer.
That's right.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. There's a thing we want to ask you about. There's a treaty. I just found it. I was wondering what in the world they were going to do this year at the United Nations, and I knew about their Agenda 2030 and all that. But they have they're doing September 19th through the 22nd. It's called the 2023 Treaty Event, in which Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, sent a letter to every president, prime minister, and king saying, look, there's been over 600 treaties since the year 2000 signed by different nations in the world. Maybe there's 18 nations here sign that, maybe 800 or 80 some sign this, 600 treaties. What they're wanting to do is to consolidate, to incorporate all 600 treaties and sign off on it as now the globe, make it all global for every nation. Okay. Well, that includes what they have treaties. You have what's called the Montreal Protocol. You have the Paris Climate Agreement. You have the law of the sea, which I've been digging into. Find out. In other words, they want to change. Yeah. They want to change international waters. And Mike, what in the world? What is this? Is this binding? Is this the beginning of a one world government?
Well, it's part of the visual aspect of what's already here. I hate to tell it.
Oh, okay.
They already have a centralized governmental system that governs everything. They've had that. They've actually had that. If you take notice, people can individualize countries, but they all meet at the UN, don't they?
Yes.
Even China has been known to get what they need from the UN. Everybody's been complicit with the UN. So the UN has powers that supersede what anybody would ever think. It is not a toy factory anymore. It's a very serious entity that's governing all things of the world. They even have procedure dealing with certain countries, the Vatican, so on and so forth. But don't forget, a conventional, in these end days, things will quickly turn from that conventional, tangible life that everybody's familiar with to a highly charged spiritual nightmare. That's what it's going to turn into.
A highly charged spiritual nightmare.
Yes. So you can't forget the spiritual component of things. Now, everybody here is likely a believer in Christ, and they understand what revelation is. We also understand prophecy, and we understand since the time of Christ that this Antichrist spirit has been in the earth.
Yes.
And we also understand that God will give the Antichrist room to become the Antichrist, to present himself, to set up his kingdom. It's going to be right here on this earth. I believe that we are in that moment now. There's nobody can really dictate how long that process is going to take, but first of all, there are things happening in the background that have been in motion that are still unspeakable things, and they are 100% spiritual. Right? And so you have, truth be told, most of the leadership is involved with dark things.
I was going to say occult. Are you talking occult practices, occult or ceremonies, a different occult?
If it were just a cult, that'd be better than what they're doing. They're having open relationships, manifesting things all the time, and they know it. Why do you think they're so defiant as far as Christ is concerned? They have no fear of the living God.
No, they don't.
No fear. Because what they fear will manifest right in front of their faces. These guys have ceremonies all the time. They're doing everything they do in front of people's faces.
Yep.
The populace is most of the populace has become powerless because they don't even know it, but they cooperate with ceremonies on a weekly basis, and they're not aware of it. If a Christian, I'll say it again, if a Christian does not rebuke something, they are complicit with something. And if they are complicit with it, they give it permission to operate. And if they give that permission to operate, whatever curse that was born of that situation will affect them also. So even Christians are finding themselves powerless. The Lord still loves them, yes. But you know, in all my life, Pastor Paul, I found out the Lord will not do what we can do. If we can do it, the Lord's not going to do it. It's
our job.
The supernatural, he does the impossible. He gave us powers to do things, and we simply won't do it, because what we're doing is we're laying down our hat, we're laying down our crown right there at the government's feet, at the entertainment's feet, and we're not doing anything. And if people had a deliverance experience with Christ, but it takes going through the entire trial. Too many people are trying to bail out of a trial because they don't understand there's no such thing as some unfair thing that's going to happen in somebody's life.
So when you
Everything
said
to a Christian is purpose, God knows exactly what he's doing. Every time we complain, we're saying we don't like the way God is raising us. So, but if we actually go through it, Pastor Paul, guess what? Then we know we're going to be delivered. We know Christ can deliver us. And when Satan pops up with his threats, because he does rule the nation, right? With anger, and causes them to fear. But when he does that, if we know the deliverance of the living God, then he can do anything he wants, and we'll say, no, I'll be delivered. So just, shoe fly, don't bother me.
So what you're saying, when you said we're laying down our crown, what we're doing is we're giving up our authority.
That's right.
We're surrendering it.
Given authority.
Yeah. And we don't realize, or we should realize what power we possess when we have God in our life. The power of the Holy Spirit, the authority, the keys to the kingdom that he gave us.
Absolutely.
But if we lay our crowns down and let the atmosphere of darkness take over, then God just says, look, I gave you power to tread over the serpents and scorpions and everything, and you just laid down your crown. Man, I'm telling you, this is a profound statement you just made that's happening in the church. Unbelievably. I mean global church. It really is. It's terrible.
It's and as it happens, right? If you take notice, it's in proportion to people giving darkness room, right?
Yep.
Because people have to be careful how they speak, what they agree with. They really have to be careful of I don't agree with anything. I don't say amen to anything I don't have absolute comprehension of.
Right.
I just won't say it. Amen means I agree.
Right.
So if I have confirmation, I'll agree. But some of these people out there speaking things I don't agree with. I just don't agree with that.
I'm with you on that.
To the world.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay, I'm going to agree with you on this one for sure. You're right. Let me ask you a question. We had this come up earlier in the broadcast. I wanted to bring it out to you. This week, Ron DeSantis was seen on a video sitting behind his desk in Tallahassee, Florida, as the governor of Florida, saying on the video, "I'm pulling out of the race. I had I had my poor performance in the debate with everything going on. I'm looking bad in the polls. I'm just letting you all know I'm pulling out." It was Ron DeSantis sitting there behind his desk saying these words. The video went viral across X, Twitter, and it looked like, is this what you said last week, that they can do things now? That AI can do things now that they can literally make you look like and say things and do things that you're not the one doing it. This is incredible technology, isn't it?
Yeah. Ron DeSantis, right? They don't want that guy in power. Do you know why?
No, they don't.
Because he actually believes in resolve. That's why he fights Disney, right? Now,
Yep.
people don't understand that fight, but he fights, people they don't know what Disney is. They have no idea what, kind of like the orcas, these orcas that are popping up off the coast of
Yeah. Yeah.
They're warning people. But you have the experts out there being morons, and they keep saying that, yeah, they must have learned this behavior to fight the boats up. No, trust me when I tell you, they're warning human beings. They're warning them to stay away from that area. And that's going to become painfully evident to everybody in that area. But when it happens, Pastor Paul, not one person is going to mention the orcas. God knows what he's doing. And DeSantis, he has the right ideologies, but unfortunately, we live in a world where people want the rainbow flag to go forward and those ideologies to go forward in front of everything else. They want the new society. They want the kingdom of the beast. You literally.
Yep.
If you don't say the kingdom of the beast, but you describe it, that's exactly what they want.
Yep.
That's what they want. They don't want to work hard to earn their money, right? They believe in a different system. That's why you have all these young kids, they're just filling up TikTok with all sorts of subjects. But here's the bad part. Do you know they're sucking up half the viewers in the world? And people believe what they're saying from these young kids who have little to no experience in life. They have theories, and people are starting to live their lives by theory. That's not sound doctrine.
No, it's not.
Right? You can't live your life like that. That's not sound doctrine. But as a bigger consequence, people like DeSantis who have values and morals and actually know how to do things, they're not going to have somebody like that, in government. The people don't want someone like that. No. They need someone who's different, right? Somebody who can be harsh, who can beat somebody down or something like that. It's just not DeSantis. He likes solutions.
Yes.
He really does.
Fix it. Let's fix the problem.
But yeah, this AI thing, they can make anybody look like, they can take you, Pastor Paul. And I'll give an example of what there's a capability of doing, because they've done it with a few athletes. It's already happened with athletes. It's already happened with people who are no longer living among us. But nobody knows they're not living among us. More than a few are not alive.
Wow. Okay.
But people see them, right? People see them. They see them outside. They see them interviewing people. And on occasion, right, they slip up. In other words, they have the camera on too long, right? And the person that was just talking, you may see a person walk up behind that person and pick it up as a piece of cardboard. And once the AI disengages from the visual effects, it was just a prop. But AI can give that prop life on television, right?
Wow.
The person that was speaking, you'll find out it was nothing more than a sheet hanging over, a banister or something outside. And once they get rid of those layers, they will see the truth. And it's, it's not. They've had this ability for quite some time.
So you're saying
I've been seeing dead people for at least 5 years now.
Wow. So they could do to me. They could create a fake Paul Begley and have me say and do anything they want.
The whole thing.
And people would believe it. Unfortunately,
they wouldn't know. They would not know. With the technology they have now, it's impossible for the human eye to detect if it's not you. There's no digital flaws. There's no, twitching or any of that stuff. On occasion, AI has a mind of its own, and it will sometimes freeze the individual, right? The individual will just stop in motion. If you ever see that, that's not a real person. If a person's on camera and they just freeze, and they're not doing anything, no blinking, no twitching, no anything, that person's not real. And when they freeze, everybody else, other folks will not pay attention to it because they won't notice it. Why? Because it's not really there. That's why. Right?
Wow.
They'll have to be told, that thing is free. Now, that sounds wild.
So this is a whole new level. We're in a whole new. We have went into a whole new level of deception.
And believe it or not, there are policies protecting activities like that. Right? Just this week there were. How many executive orders were signed? Quite a bit. Biden is always signing executive orders.
He don't even know he's signing half the time. I mean, you're right.
Because other people are running the show back there. Other people are. That's why he's still on board. It's unfortunate for him and his family, and I know they have issues, but They're just people. They are people. You don't know who the people
Right.
are.
Right.
But they're just people. Biden, there are lots of stories behind him, and he did have a malfunction. Did anybody ever see him, scratch his neck and his neck skin came up and stayed up?
I haven't seen that video. I haven't seen that. I mean, you talked a little bit about that last week. So you're saying that wasn't
just happened a couple days ago.
That wasn't Joe Biden then. I mean, it was a mask of some sort.
But anyway, that's why they won't let Trump back in there, right?
Yeah.
Trump is in with Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Hollywood and the DIA and the CIA work closely together in the makeup department. There's some masterful artists back there. And they know how to fool everybody by camera, even in, real time. And so Trump is highly aware of this. They don't trust him for those reasons and some more.
They can't let him back in because he'll spill the beans on what they're doing. That's right.
And unfortunately, Pascal, we're in a time where they're just, believe me, they have the power to shut down anybody they want to, and nobody's going to spill the beans outside of their, little. People have tried to no avail. You have people literally crying to their audience, trying to tell them, they're powerless. But if the people are fooled and the people won't come to the rescue of the individual, that individual's toast.
I'm afraid that what we're going to see in 2020, I've been saying 2024 is a year like never before. I'm a believer that we will see the Stone Steps event in 2024. I think
it's a haunting.
There's no way around it. It's going to happen. It's going to shock people, but I'm not going to be shocked. I think we were given spiritual warning, prophetic warning by you and others that it was coming. Let me ask you a question. Also, we had a guy call me. I just talked to him a few minutes ago. His name is John. He has a YouTube channel called Shadow Burn. He studies the sun all the time. He's constantly watching the sun and the effects of the sun. He said that there is reports that there's elevated levels of nanometals in our atmosphere, in our sky, in the air we breathe, that from the years and decades of really chemtrails, spraying these little pieces of nanometals are supposed to reflect the incoming radiation and the
since 1954.
Okay, yeah. So is he right that they're saying now that these nanometals are acting like conduits for lightning, making lightning 10 times stronger than it's supposed to be.
Yeah, they do sometimes. Some of those metals also, because they go through constant. They have analytical folks that are constantly testing the atmosphere to see what the content is. You have certain volcanoes, Pastor Paul, also that are putting out black metallic.
Okay.
Black metallic substance.
Okay.
Right. And we put out, when they spray it out of aircraft and everywhere else.
Right.
Those aluminum-based particles are to reflect sunlight back out in space. If they didn't do that, we wouldn't be walking outside. Most things would have burned out by now. I can tell you right now, Pastor Paul, we're staving off something that's been happening, right? And we have prolonged our own, way of living on the earth by doing that. If they ever stop doing that, right, it'll be instant repercussions.
So this is
I want everybody to take note.
Wow.
Of this, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
This heat that we have, right?
Yeah.
Now just put this together. This heat that we have. Does everybody remember when no chemtrails were in the skies during COVID-19?
I do remember that. I do remember that.
The skies were clear.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, just for a little bit. And then all of a sudden they started spraying chemtrails again, right? Well, the heat events came right after that, didn't they?
Yes.
Didn't they?
Yes.
Didn't they? And now that heat, it went way over the mark. They wanted to see what the actual state of the earth was. Just like any experiment or any controlled environment, you have to see if what you're doing is actually working. So what do? You cease to give it medication, you cease to cover it, whatever you have to do. And then right after they did that, and all that radiation came into the surface of the earth, it gets trapped, by the way. It didn't go back out, it gets trapped. Then we had this large heating event, instabilities in the Earth all the way down to the core of the Earth, right? So that started a cycle, and they quickly began to spray again to the point where people, the wrong people, were being approached. They were saying, "Hey, we'll pay for all your trips, and all you have to do is spray this stuff, carry this equipment on your aircraft, and we'll pay for your fuel."
Wow.
That's how they do it.
Wow.
But yeah, they had to do that. That started that started back in 1950s, and it carries on to this very day.
1954.
It has a dual purpose, but the basic purpose is to reflect the sunlight, specifically sunlight, back out into space, so that all that heat will not, tear up.
For years and years and years, we were called conspiracy theorists for bringing up chemtrails, and they called us Looney Tunes and nuts. But like you're saying, for sure it's true. 1954, it's been going on. It's the cat's out of the bag by now. I mean, I think people are realizing that it's really real. But the purpose is because you say the sun is actually sending high power UV rays that are heating up the earth. We have to do this to protect the earth from literally melting, like it says it will do one day in 2 Peter chapter 3.
The value of infrared hitting the earth is too high. It's just flat out too high, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to reflect infrared is with metal particulates. And so, they're doing that part. That small piece, I become acquainted with very well. I'm sure that other people have knowledge of other aspects of what they're doing. But if they were to stop, we would literally start to burn out big time. We'd also lose pressure in the atmosphere. Reflecting back that light actually thickens our atmosphere to the point where we can, it's a little more comfortable down here, right? We already have equator problems. There are places in the earth humanity can no longer go, Pastor Paul.
Because it's too hot? It's too much radiation?
Because you will cook. You'll cook in less than an hour. When I say cook, I don't mean blisters on your skin. I mean cook because of microwaves.
Right.
The sun's, that radiation, the power coming off the sun is in all the wavelengths, right? There are high microwave emission points around the rim of the earth, and you just cannot go there. You can't go there. One of the great fears is that this is going to begin to spread. If we start having further degree shifts in the earth, that radiation band, right, is going to start shifting. If it suddenly shifts up into the northern, North America or something like that, it's going to be a lot of people hurt. In 2004, they had emergency meetings because that magnetar exposed the same activity when it hit the earth, and we had all the ozone problems began in 2004.
Okay.
There were people that were killed by that event, right? Within minutes, they were done for. So if we start to lose the ozone plus another layer of our atmosphere, microwave beams from the sun, this natural sunlight carries, microwave emissions, it starts cooking people, right? That also happens in the Arctic regions from time to time.
Now, I was going to ask you, does it happen out in the middle of the oceans? Because since there's no people, there's no need to... And is that part of the reason the oceans are heating up? I know underneath, but is it both?
We have that issue with the earth heating up, but we have other issues in the ocean. Volcanism is one, right?
Yep.
But we also have another issue dealing with what's under the floor of the ocean. As of late, and the oceans are going to continue to heat in the wintertime, where volcanoes are not. People will notice heat booms. They don't care. People see them now because at this point, folks are going to be introduced to extra things. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Not extra things. So, the ocean mysteries are soon to just burst wide open. We've reached a time where they're no longer going to invest a lot of, I guess you could say, manpower in covering up certain things, right? The true nature of the earth will be exposed. People will see it. It'll be introduced, and they're going to have to know about this every day. But I have to give a caution. While everybody thinks that's fascinating, when people have knowledge of this, Pastor Paul, they will not be able to live their lives. It'll cause massive fear. And there's nothing humanity can do about it.
Does it have to do with
on this planet?
Does it have something to do with the Earth's crust?
And it has something to do with the ancients.
Oh, okay. So what's below the surface of the Earth when people start to,
specifically the oceans,
right?
Specifically the oceans, and which means people will see things in the oceans that will never go up, never go down. Nothing's coming out of them, but they're going to see them. That's going to cause people lots of problems. Lots of problems. Wow. That's just the time we live in.
And you're saying this is soon to be, there'll be disclosure on this soon because...
Well, they're doing it now. You know, they're actually psychologically conditioning people so that they will be used to the idea of, the fanciful things are no longer fanciful. And believe it or not, they're doing a good job in what they're doing, because now if you start talking about UFOs, nobody is moved. Nobody is frightened. Nobody is alarmed. Nobody is rejected. Nobody is angry. If you did this about 15 years ago, people would absolutely get so angry. Normally, when people get angry behind a subject, it's because internally they're frightened. They don't want to face that. They can't deal with that.
So now we're not afraid. We're not afraid of UFOs no more. It's become, it's been confirmed by our government, basically. And now we're all embracing it.
Yeah, when you slowly release something like that, you put a few nuggets out there. What you actually do is create a desire, right? That people have a desire to see them. Certainly the young audience, but it's also caused another problem. It's the Ouija board problem is what it is. A Ouija board is a point of contact.
Right.
A person exercises a desire to see anything. They want anything in the spiritual realm to answer them. Well, guess what? If a person desires to see a UFO or the occupants, they're doing the same thing that a person would do with a Ouija board. They are opening themselves up, giving anything and everything for permission to come and contact them. So they become a gateway, and things will come based off that person's permission.
So in other words, they become a portal themselves.
That's right. And the whole world is doing this. And it's growing. And so expect
the unexpected,
extraordinary things to begin to manifest in the earth naturally, because people are giving that's their God-given authorities. Satan is usurping that through these subjects to get people to desire things they know nothing about. When they do that, they say, well, anything out there, come and talk to me. Contact me. And they have that desire to do that. That's the Ouija board effect.
Yeah.
And we know what comes through. We know what comes through. And so they will deceive. I have a different take on UFOs. I think I expressed that. But it's the same old ploy Satan has been using for a long time.
Yes.
He has duped a lot of people. It's just a different form of that entity.
Masquerading.
Trying to usurp everything on earth. Right?
Satan.
Trying to get everybody to corrupt themselves. Because when Christ comes, he can't run. A lot of people haven't figured that out, Pastor.
Yeah.
He's on death row.
Yeah, he can't go nowhere.
He's on death row.
So
he can't go anywhere.
So you're saying the devil is that they're masquerading. These demons and entities, ancient entities, are masquerading as in whatever we want them to look like. And because we're opening our mind and our spirit, we become portals to the darkness. And we embrace the darkness, and then so that they can run wild. I mean, we're allowing it to go wild, and so it becomes second nature almost to people, and they don't even know. It's like they're slowly being demonically overtaken because they were curious and they wanted to know, and they sought it out through this opening up of their heart to the portals. And Satan would just take advantage of it.
You know how patient they are. They will wait and wait and wait until the right time to strike. They could be with a person right now, and the person won't know that from something they did years ago. And then all of a sudden, that person is marked by darkness. And, my goodness, Pastor Paul, you need to replicate yourself, because the world needs more Pastor Pauls out there with the word of God. Because if, Pastor Paul, a spiritual nightmare is forming and people are not aware, and when it hits the manifestation stage, and it will, because look, Pastor Paul, let me give you an example.
Okay.
Paperwork I'm saying paperwork is actually a presentation, a release of information is being put together about giants. It's going to be released that
Really?
salt mines, right? Salt mines, specifically the salt mines with the different mineral sets in the salt mines. That paperwork is going to convey that is ancient, biological elements of a giant. Skin
Really?
tissue, veins, all that stuff, fat tissue in the salt mines. And when they cut away layers inside of a salt mine, right? If you ever see that, you'll see it looks just like somebody cut a slice out of a pig. That's what it
looks like flesh. You're saying it's like cutting into flesh.
Like petrified.
Yeah,
flesh.
yeah.
Something happened to it, right? Now, here's the astounding part. In the salt mines is where they are finding or have found these things, right? Like elbows, big, huge bones, fingers, rings on the fingers. Can you imagine a hand bigger that's 6 foot long? A hand that's 6 foot long with rings on it.
What?
Pure gold rings. That would just scare the peanuts out of anybody's
right.
ears.
Right, I guarantee it.
But so they're getting that report ready because there's even a suspicion that somehow humanity's desires can reanimate those things, right?
Yeah.
Under every single capital in the world.
No,
things is below that capital.
Isn't this thing about Gilgamesh and how Hillary was obsessed with it, and that other world leaders, they're wanting to use the DNA to try to bring back the ancients from the days as far back, Nimrod. I mean, the whole situation is
they want the power.
Okay.
See, they're used to a duality. It's something that your listeners may not know. A lot of these folks who are the privileged folks, they are groomed to operate with a duality, meaning they were dedicated as children to host two spirits, themselves and another spirit. Kind of like these musical artists that are out there, not all of them, but they have an alternate identity when they sing. And all of them on their little biographies, they'll tell you that, when they get on stage, the other thing takes over.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's the same thing. They're prepped for duality, right? And they seal that through covenant, whatever covenant and that they're raised up with, that's sealed in them. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people, they don't know they can have that nullified. They don't know they can get out. But Hillary used to evoke the spirit of Roosevelt's wife.
Yeah. I heard that. And even right in the White House, I heard she did that even right in the White House, calling on Eleanor Roosevelt.
Well, you wouldn't want to know actually who does that stuff in the White House. I'd never say it. I'd never do that. But Pascal, unfortunately, just about all of them have done that. Every single last one of them. Is
it because there's a thirst for power? Are they looking for supernatural insight? Is this what they want?
When they get that seat of power, first of all, to be in that position, right? There's a secret oath you must take to get in that position first. They're not going to give that person. They're not going to give anybody that position at all. Just anybody cannot have that position, right? So this, a person of the people. No, you forget that. There's a secret oath you must take,
right?
And there's some things you have to forfeit, and there's some things you have to really believe and really affirm through that oath. And it's not exactly, it's not exactly what the founding fathers had in mind. It's not. They take it anyway, and that the first term is a trial. It's basically a trial
to see if you'll go along.
Trusted.
Yeah, to see if they can trust you or not, right?
Yeah, if you're trusted in that first term, then you go and meet the King of the world.
Whoa, that's the Satan himself. That's Lucifer. That's Lucifer.
That's when you're permanent, right?
The King of the world.
First term, a president with one term has no respect when he's gone. No respect.
Right.
A president with two terms, no matter how bad they are, they have the utmost respect and privilege forever when they leave, right?
Yep.
And you don't see them talking about politics. They're not in the limelight. They only assist, and they do so with a sense of pride. And it's because they understand the dark side of things.
Yeah.
They understand who that one person of 1,000 points of light is.
Yeah.
They understand what the bright in the morning star is. They understand
Yep.
what's on that place that the bright in the morning star refers to.
Yeah.
They understand quite a bit. And it's very different from what, common knowledge is. It's very different.
It's
but all that's
fascinating.
coming out.
It's fascinating. And the fact that that's going to be coming out, we'll be watching for that, because when they start to saying that, confirming that the giants were on the land, that they have, when this is going to be huge when they finally confirm it. I'm wondering what kind of twist they're going to put on that, though. What kind of a twist?
Twist it. I was about to say that they will twist it. And unfortunately, if a person is not rooted in Christ, they're going to fall for the lie. They will.
I know it. So let's go.
Satan always lies by telling the truth.
Oh, because he tells the truth. He's half. Unbelievable.
But that's his lie.
Can we talk? Let's talk a little bit about this Saudi Arabia, Israel arrangement that seems to be getting closer and closer, where Saudi Arabia would finally acknowledge Israel as a nation. They've never acknowledged them since 1948. They've never said, "Yep, there is a nation called Israel." So they're close to signing the Abraham Accords. There's still some horse trading going on here. The Palestinians want several hundred millions of dollars, and the Israelis got to give up some of the West Bank Authority to some degree. What do you see? And Biden is really pushing to get this done. What is your thoughts on this whole arrangement that's taking place here?
A ploy.
Okay.
That's a ploy. It's a positioning ploy. Number one, Saudi Arabia, even down to their most shallow ideologies, will never embrace Israel.
Wow.
They'll never do it.
Wow.
They'll never do it. That's Saudi Arabia. Those guys, right? Their ideology is not well.
So are you saying that they might?
About the most powerful people on planet Earth, Saudi Arabia.
I mean,
I'm telling you now.
That's a major statement. That's a huge statement.
I'm telling you now.
Why? Is it because of their? Is it because of their? Is it because of their ideology that they're that powerful? They stick to their guns.
They're ruthless.
Yeah, they are ruthless. They are ruthless.
What they're sitting on, right, is just happens to be in the right position. They have negotiated things, have people locked in contracts and everything else. And if anybody reneges on them, they're going to end up missing. They can touch anybody all over the world. People can be upset with them all day, but they have persisted. They have survived. They have come back. They are strong. They're building a whole new nation. Who does that? Who builds a whole new nation? So these guys have opened up their territories.
So are you saying
just for the purpose of their new nation, they're indoctrinating people? They built multiple schools for that indoctrination process. And if they become friendly with Israel, I cannot help but to believe they're doing this in conjunction with some political maneuvers in the Middle East that will ultimately consume Israel.
So in other words, it's a ploy. If they sign in this agreement, it's only to get more access to the Middle East and world powers, I guess. So it's not real. It's a ploy.
Well, they echo. You remember they echo too that Israel has no right to be Israel.
I know. They have never acknowledged them. They've never acknowledged them.
Why? Why right now? Jordan, you watch what Jordan does with Saudi Arabia in conjunction with Iraq. Just watch what happens. And then when Iran gives the order, well, there's going to be some trouble in China. And that's why Putin is ready to act. And that's why he knows he's going to have to preempt some things, because he has the entire support of the Middle East behind him.
So when
he's been all over the place setting things up.
So back to this first question, the title of the broadcast: Russia wants to nuke us. A preemptive strike is on the table with Vladimir Putin. Is it on the table?
And that's exactly what they would have to do. If he does a preempt of America, right?
Yep.
He's not just going to do America. Israel is going to get theirs too.
Yeah.
The only way to get to Israel is to take America out. You have to get them both at the same time.
Yeah.
I personally believe that when Jerusalem is trampled, because in the Bible, when Jerusalem is trampled underfoot 42 months, how in the world can that happen with the USA in power, right?
It can't.
Something has happened to us momentarily, and Israel has no allies. No one comes to her aid. Of course, God purposed it that way.
Yep.
Which is okay, because it's the beast kingdom is a vacuum for evil, and all evil folks are going to gravitate towards the beast kingdom.
Yep.
They'll all be in one convenient spot. They'll all mark themselves, and then there you go. That's how the Lord's going to gather all of them together.
Yep, and he says that in the book of Zechariah. The Lord will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right outside the eastern wall. And it says, then Jesus, or the Lord, will stand on the Mount of Olives. He will fight for Israel. He will split that mountain in half, and he will defeat the armies of darkness. It's coming. But you're saying it can't happen as long as the strong man, the United States.
That's right.
You
know what? In the Bible, I said that it was talking about somebody who supported, or who Israel called upon during her times in the earth, but that who she called upon wasn't there anymore.
No.
Right? All is strange, because all Israel ever has to do, they do it right now, is call upon the name of the Lord. They don't need us. They don't need anyone.
No, I know it. I know it.
Call upon the Lord.
Yeah, I know that. They have faith. They do believe that. At the end of the day, they do believe that. At least a lot of them does. I'll say that. Do you feel the United States? Do you feel that we're handing over this nation to the beast kingdom without even firing a shot?
I think we've done it. I think we've.
It's already done.
I think that has happened because people are not unified, Pascal. And when you have people separated, right?
Yep.
Every family says in their individual home, well, our voices aren't loud enough. We can't make a difference. We have to get together. Yeah. But they've been saying we have to get together for how many years? How many years?
Forever.
Years,
my whole life.
And nobody has gotten together.
My whole life.
Because it's almost like a lot of people want to be the head. Nobody wants to be the laborer, right?
Right.
Everybody wants to be in charge of it. So each individual person has their own idea, and they don't exactly agree with the next guy. So nobody's getting together. They're not unified. But it's okay, because if we were unified, nobody would trample. There would be no kingdom of the beast.
Yeah.
Zero. And the Lord's not going to suffer his prophecies to fail. They're not going to fail. They're absolutely going to. They're happening now. Beyond anybody's control, these things are happening.
I'm thinking about the 2020 year and the craziness that went through that year, and the madness that's gone on since that, and then we're going into 2024. And people are saying, I don't know if we can trust anything anymore. I don't know if people are starting to realize we've lost it. It's gone. It's already gone. And I think the final confirmation of that, unfortunately, will be realized in 2024. I've been saying 2024 is going to be a year like never before for America. And I think it's a rude awakening.
In the wintertime, oh Lord, it passed all the wintertime. They're going to act on quite a few things this winter when people are somewhat immobilized, right?
Are we going to see another shutdown?
America, they will act inside of America.
Is there going to be another shutdown, Mike? Are you saying another shutdown's coming, another mandate?
Well, we're going to have more than that. Well, let me put it to you this way. We have, about every week, a portion of the power grid is attacked, is assaulted. Large-scale plans have been interrupted just about every single week.
Okay.
Now, when I say large-scale, I mean ploys against nuclear power plants now, right? There are quite a few Chinese PLA folks over here.
Yep.
6,500 PLA folks almost came in a few weeks ago, but they caught them and turned them around. But they didn't turn around the 100,000 that leaked in prior to that because of American confusion of politics.
Oh.
They slipped right through the cracks. They're inside this country. They don't know who they are. They don't know where they are.
But they're here.
I just don't know.
They came through the southern border. They came through the southern border.
There's something else people need to think about.
Okay.
Even the folks that have come through legally, right? And evidently it doesn't matter what race you are anymore. The folks who have come through legally, a percentage of those folks have been found to be loyal to people like ISIS. To people like, there are other groups I'm not going to mention, but they are of a different race with the same ideology as ISIS.
Yep.
So they're trying to tear down America. They hate America and they live in this country right now. Right. So, when you learn things like that, you know that without Christ, without the Father, it's over.
Yeah.
Nobody can coordinate on a level to squeeze a sponge to get anybody out of the country like that, because you can't test a person's ideologies with current policy. You can't do that, right?
No.
And because race is no longer a factor. In fact, they caught there are too many Caucasians being caught who are loyal to ISIS.
I know.
How does that work out?
I don't understand it. No, I don't understand it.
From West Virginia, full beard.
Yeah.
Red beard.
Yeah.
How is that a ISIS member?
Yeah.
With the beer belly, all
yeah,
that.
the whole 9 yards. Right.
What's happening here? So, Satan is utilizing every avenue he can to warp minds, to get people to believe in causes. And I'll tell you something, these countries like China and overseas basketball, they're paying people tens of millions of dollars to snatch women. They're also doing it so that people will take down the power grid. That's why they give out the satellite phones, because when the intel reports came back, there were too many assaults on our power grid. They can sweep it, clean it up all they want. The problem is inside this country already, and it will happen. We're going to have issues. That's why they have those sat phones, so they can have October 4th. Coming up October 4th, the emergency broadcast system is going to go off on every single device in this country. Right.
Okay.
In fact, it'll be a coordinated emergency broadcast system. There's some more scheduled. They're testing out the whole system, the finalized system. I thought that would come, not so soon, because I know when that finalized system comes, Pastor Paul, it's you don't put that into motion just to test it. You don't do that. You don't. Number one, because folks are going to find out. They'll eventually find out about the new technology and the hardware and this, that, and the other. So I was always informed that when that system came out, then that would come out in the time where we had very real threats, right? And I believe back when I first met you, when I was telling you that, that day would come when they would start talking about nuclear. But I told everybody, when they start talking about this nuclear stuff, it's not going to be for games. It's not going to be for conversation. It's going to be for real. And we have to live in that time.
We're here.
Putin's threats of a preempt are extremely real. They're very real.
It's real.
And it's only God's grace that's holding things back now. But for how long? How long?
Well, the prophecy can't be changed. You said that earlier in the broadcast. It's going to happen. Things are going to happen. As you said, the threats of nuclear preemptive strike on America, we're hearing it now. We shouldn't be shocked when it happens. We should not be shocked. I think they'll probably hit more than one city at once. I look for it to be multiple cities, maybe as many as 5, 6, maybe more. And they'll probably go for infrastructure. They'll probably go for seats of power. They'll probably go for, different, maybe even military installations that are vital, and it will be a crippling effect. And then and they don't want to totally destroy the country, because they want the country, they want the land, they want the resources, but they do have to do a significant amount of damage to break the spirit and to bring tremendous fear upon us. Do you see that happening?
Putin is cold-hearted. He was quoted as saying that he will turn this nation into what is comparable to a trash pile for 100 years. And he'll do that without losing any sleep. That's what he said. Right?
Unbelievable.
Because if you look at the situation, Putin considers himself a Christian.
Yeah, right? He does. Yes, he does.
That part is confirmed.
Yeah.
He is KGB, so he's not going to play around.
Nope.
Right? He's not going to play around. He does posturing and things like that, but he's matured and he's not playing games. And he's playing for keeps while everybody else is playing games. Putin is playing for keeps.
Yeah.
He has coordinated with China. He has coordinated with North Korea. Kim Jong-un. In fact, this latest conversation kind of frightened Kim Jong-un. How about that one?
Really?
Kind of frightened him. Yeah, that's right.
Really?
Kind of frightened him. So, but Kim Jong-un has never broken relationship with Russia in as far as their deep trades and assemblage and shipping and all this stuff of what they do with nuclear weapons. So Russia has a pretty large count of nuclear weapons. So does China. China has targeting systems that nobody can compete with, right?
Wow.
China entered a competition indirectly and shrank our Patriot missile system to fit on the back of a Volkswagen. The whole thing. They did.
Oh.
So imagine.
So it's easy to.
This was back in 1990. This was back, 1985. That was back in 1985. Think about that. That was back then. They made it tiny with the same effective range, the same everything. Right? Obviously, they didn't get the contract. They did the same thing with most of the military vehicles. So they are extremely efficient at replicating, duplicating, and producing machinery that they have seen. So if they see it, they get a hold of it, they're going to replicate it.
Yep.
Well, Iran has gotten a hold of all of our drones. They even got a hold of some stealth drones.
So now they've re-engineered them. They've reverse engineered them.
Drones. So that means they hacked them because Iran is extremely efficient at hacking things.
Yeah.
Right? We live in a very different world, and people have been following propaganda, and now we get to see, what's been propaganda and what's been truth.
Yeah.
And again, I'll say it. We have extraordinary aircraft, and some of the aircraft we do have, but that's in Space Force. That's what Space Force is for. Space Force is necessary. That's why it was put together, because we need Space Force. NASA is planetary defense. We needed a Space Force.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they're going to cover for a ship called the USSSS so-and-so. People are going to say, well, what in the world is that, right? Or you get rotations happening here. Ultimately, people are going to catch on to these folks who have radiation, a type of radiation sickness, but they're military individuals. And they're going to say, well, why do you have radiation sickness like that, right? They're going to catch on to it. Then the cat's going to be out of the bag. But the people who have suppressed and have hidden so many things, they're gone.
Yeah.
To my understanding, there's one left. One left in Congress, and that one's almost gone. It's almost gone. And when that one goes, nobody can blame anybody in the anywhere, currently, because most of those people are dead. Right?
Yeah.
But man has done a whole lot more than what anybody thinks, and the whole world is going to know about this. The new generation demands it. The new generation is doing this. But I have to remind everybody, it's going to seem fanciful. It's going to seem like, hey, we got it made. We have this, we got these little power cells. We got a car that runs on water that can go 1,000 miles. That's going to seem great, right?
Well,
that's this year. Oh, by the way, those cars are already out.
They can do 1,000 miles off the battery.
No, not a battery. They go off water. 1,000 miles, right?
1,000 miles running off water.
2,000 plus horsepower.
Instead of gasoline, water.
Yeah, 2,000 plus horsepower.
Wow.
So the gasoline can't even come close to these cars.
Are they going to be out to the general public? Are they going to be out to
the pre-orders are out there? People, a few have them already. They're going out there. This stuff is going out there. Everything is beginning to change. It's gonna be like a utopia to a degree.
That's
I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
If people accept the utopia, they will be absolutely against Christ.
Yeah, because they're going to have all their faith in AI and in the new technologies and the ease. The life has become of ease now. So happy with it. Let me just say this. I know we're running out of time. There was somebody made a comment, Maui, what about Maui? We covered Maui last week. You should go back and watch last Thursday's program. Mike did a phenomenal job explaining exactly what happened in Maui and why it happened. So if you want to know about that, definitely watch last Thursday's broadcast. Mike, wow. Okay, I have to now think about everything you said. I got to rewatch this broadcast again, take notes, because there's some powerful information I think you were letting us know about, giving us some serious hints and information. And we better get Christ in our life. We better get rooted and grounded in the Lord. No playing around no more. We can't play Christianity no more. We got to be real. Amen?
Amen.
What are we going to talk about next Thursday, Mike? What are we going to talk about next week? Anything coming up?
Hopefully not the coffin. I don't know, Pastor Paul. That coffin is closed.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that coffin is closed.
Okay. You must know something that I don't know. Okay. We'll hopefully we're not going to talk about it next week.
Yeah, hopefully not. But sometimes you get that inkling that it's closed.
All right.
It's closed.